Hi, I'm Mitch Stott, founder of Down and Locked Electric Retract Systems. We have recently had an issue with transmission damage in retract systems manufactured for Carf models, and those were in the SU 2730 series, the A4 Skyhawks, P51 Mustangs, etc. The purpose of this video is to show you a step-by-step procedure on removing the electric actuator from the retract mechanism, removing the motor from the actuator housing, removing the transmission, then replacing that transmission with a new one that has been supplied to Carf models and or customers out in the field. So step number one would be you have your retract mechanism, something of similarity to this, removed from your model. You're going to need two 10mm wrenches, one on each side to fit onto these locks, these flats, and to work them in opposition. These threads should have or will have a thread locking compound, so there'll be a little bit of resistance in doing so. One of them is going to turn and loosen, while the other one is going to remain locked into a shaft. Now this shaft, let me back up, there should be two rubber O-rings in here. They're not in this sample, but there should be two rubber O-rings in your mechanisms. And there's also going to be between this frame and the motor on each side, there will be like a flat washer or spacer. You can also, from this angle, you can see this shaft sticking out from the housing side. You're going to want to use like a pair of needle nose pliers, anything that you have, to grasp that shaft while you use your 10mm wrench to turn the nut on the other side. Now you may have to continue to hold that shaft for 3 or 4 rotations or more of this nut or screw assembly until you get it out, due to the thread locking compound that will be present. Once you have that removed, once you have this nut removed, you will then be able to get the washer out from behind it, pull this out, and then you're going to push this pin out of that housing and just pull it through. It just simply slides in place. Pull it out of the way, set it aside. You will be reusing it. Now you're going to hand rotate this actuator assembly out of that threaded brass pin till you have it in hand. Next procedure, get you 2 pieces of wood or something softer than these steel threads, so that you can grasp this thread, this shaft, with a pair of pliers. Like so, because you're now going to want to loosen this nut. This is a 10mm nut. You're going to want to use like a pair of needle nose pliers or something that'll fit down in here. Looking at it from the top, you're going to turn it counterclockwise. There will be resistance because of the thread locking compound, so you may have to make several rotations until it's free enough to turn with your hand and without holding it with the pliers. Once you have it to the point where you can turn it by hand without holding it, spin it completely off. Once you have that nut out of the way, see here and here, split in these two. Grasp, turn. Remove this housing. Next procedure will be a 5/64 hex key, a good quality one. You do not want to have a cheap one here. This set screw is also going to have a thread locking compound and is going to be rather tight, so heat could be required. A soldering iron or a small pencil torch, something of that nature, held right here for just a few seconds to heat it to loosen the locking compound. Then insert the drive, turn it just a few turns, and slide that off. Next, you're going to take this back section off. You can see the split here. Again, that'll be tight, but it won't be overly hand tight, or shouldn't be. Shouldn't require any special tools. Just pull it out of the way. Now, next step. Flat screwdriver. Remove these two screws. Do not lose them. Set them aside. Then just push the motor out the back.